We have a quorum present, so this meeting will please come to order. I'm required to read by the city pursuant to the applicable law and my determination that attendance by remote means is necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical nor prudent due to the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19. This meeting is conducted via video conference. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the SSA website shortly. So thank you all for taking the time to come out this morning for our final meeting of 2021. Let's get this year over with. The first order of business is the minutes that were circulated for the October 26th meeting. Those went out, I believe, last Friday, and hopefully everyone has had a chance to look them over. Are there any corrections or adjustments to the minutes? I see none, and the minutes are accepted as circulated. Thank you very much, Ramon. I'm glad to see you got connected. I saw your connection was taking a few seconds to warm up there. Next item of business on our agenda is, by direction of the city, comments from our guests. Sue, anything you want to say?
Nope.
Thank you for joining us. It's always nice to see you.
Oh, and Mike McGarry, do you have any?
Oh, Mike, that's right. I forget Mike's a guest now.
Is our official volunteer of the SSA?
Yes, mascot. Oh, you're muted.
You're on mute.
He's good. And we'll hear from Wallace in a little bit. He's on the agenda. So that cover everyone? Yes, I think so. All right, so then that takes us to our financials and the monthly financial report. Isaac, would you like to explain it to us?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Diane.
You still need me to share the screen, Isaac?
Yeah, if you could, thank you.
Okay.
All righty, so we had the November 30th, 2021 versus 2020 financials. So we'll take a look at the statement of financial position. And as we enlarge that a little bit, okay. All right.
Is that good for everyone?
Okay, just a little more, okay.
A little bit more?
Yeah, a little bit more. There we go. All righty, so total cash in bank as of November 30th is at 87,000 compared to 118. So we did a lot of activity during the month of November in our spend down, Diane, and the planning to spend down. So you see there's a $31,000 decrease from this time last year. Total assets include our receivables of 369 compared to 400,000 this time last year. Pay down bills, so our accounts payables at 2,100 compared to 7,200. We have paid back to SECC all of its monthly administrative fees. So total liabilities at 382 compared to 316. So we paid down liabilities. Temporary restricted, you had 63,000 plus compared to a negative 32,000 last year. Net surplus, which is good because now we do not have a heavy surplus due to spend down during the month of November. So we had 23,000 where revenues exceed expenses by 23,000 compared to 116. As we know, last year we were still in the thick of COVID and things had not necessarily opened back up. So total net assets right now is at 86,000 compared to 84,000 last year. So total liabilities and net assets is at 369 compared to 400,000. So liquidity is good. So cash flow is good. And then the key is we're starting to spend down, so you won't have as large of a carryover going into 2022. So next we'll go to budget versus actual. Enlarge that a little bit there, Diane. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All righty, so total actual tax receipts collected is 254 compared to 317. Within that 317, there's a carryover from last year, and I believe it's at 40 or 50,000, George?
40,000, yes.
40,000. So if you add 40,000 down, then you'll be right at 294. And so basically you'd be right around a $20-some thousand shortfall, which is much less than what we initially had projected. So things turn out a lot better than we anticipated. So coming down to your expenses, 1.0, customer attraction, you had 64,000 compared to a total budget of 88,000. All right, so you had a lot of spending during the month. Your special events of 28,000. So that was the bigger one there. And then in your brand placement of 12,000. Coming down to public way aesthetics, total of 84,000 compared to a budget of 115. And that will probably catch up because a lot of times the vendors with the cleanup is behind. So by the end of the year, we probably will catch up with that 115. Coming down to sustainability, you're at basically 20,000. You had a budget of 30,000. So in a month, we paid expenditures for the public transit enhancement of 20,000. Still nothing for economic business development. For safety programs, it's 4,000 in security patrol. And then in management, you're at 15,000 compared to 22,000 on a total budget. And so you probably catch up with that during the month of December. And then for personnel, you're right on target, 43,000 compared to a budget of 45. And so your total expenditures is at 231 compared to 317. And you take your revenues less your expenses, that gives you a net surplus of 23,105. So that has come down substantially. I think the last time it was right around 60-some thousand last month. So with the spending this in November, it came down to 23,000, and I believe there's some additional spend down during the month of December. So that's the monthly report as of November 30th, 2021. Then that's just your detail of all of your revenues that are coming in through the city each month, and then all of your expenses that have come through as well, each budget line item. So George, from your standpoint, or Diane, from your standpoint for the month of December, your anticipation as far as expenses that you have planned out?
Yeah, we have in our spend down, we know there's at least another, I believe 20,000 that we have allocated for December that we know will come into play. So that spend down plan, Diane will go into it in detail when she talks about the spend down. But Diane, you want to go ahead and talk about it? You have
Yeah,
it
I put it on the screen because as we talk about it, so we know we have 10,000 for the website. We had 2 RFP submissions, which I will talk about more in my program report. But so we have the website, we have the design of the annual report, and these are things I was waiting to plug the amounts in. So we know there's like another perhaps 15 to 20,000, you know, and that also includes some of the expenses we know that are going to happen. This probably will not. I'll take it from one or the other, I'm not sure. But yeah, so we're getting there. We're getting there. I don't think we're adding anything else in at this point. I think we've spent everything we can spend other than operations and yeah, I think the last thing was a banner installation, new banner installation. Any questions about this before I go to our budget tracker? So then it'll all add up now. When you see these 3 different documents we're using, it really all adds up. The budget tracker is really helpful internally because we can project our spending.
Diane, can I share my version of it? I did some updating to it this morning.
Oh, of course. I should have guessed that.
Of course. Well, when I got Isaac's finances, had a chance to sit down to look them over, I realized there's some additional things that we could put in.
Yeah, George will always tinker around with that tracker.
It's never ending. The budget tracker is never ending. Specifically, what I was going in to update this morning. I'll blow this up in just a second when I can find what I'm looking for. Come on, screen. Zoom always gets in my way. Is this little bit over here off to the edge. This is in my copy, and where you have that yellow and orange, purple colors over here. These are our revenues that have come in this fall. We had a projected levy total of 273. And the reality is, with everything that's come in through the end of December, the 14 cents that came in on November 26th, we've had a total yearly revenue of 254,000, which is 93% of what we projected. And as Isaac mentioned, that's actually way better than we were anticipating. That's a much more robust amount than we thought likely in this year. So when you put that and you add in the carryovers and the late collections that came in, you come up with our total budget of the 317,000. In the budget tracker itself, Diane and I talked it over last week, and we try to plug in some of the numbers for December just to see where we would actually be. So these numbers that are on your copy and on my copy, they're in bold and italic, are not yet actual numbers. They have not been entered into our accounts. There are projections, so they're subject to change. But at the bottom line, when we get down to the bottom of the budget tracker, we'll see that for the month of December, there's an additional almost 20,000 that we anticipate spending, so that our total expenses for the year will be 244 out of a budget of 317, which is 77% of our budget that we will have spent, 23% that then becomes available for carryover. So that gives us an estimated carryover of about 72,000. That's significantly less than what we carried over last year. So we will have part of last year's carryover for 2022 in the amount of 36,000. We'll probably carry a portion of this over to 2022 and another portion of 2023, split between 2 years. So it's not all in 1 year. And I think that leaves us in pretty good shape and gives us a lot of room next year to rebound with whatever projects and exercises we decide to spend our money on, spend our time on. So
in addition, I think it's important, George, to note the reconstitution
yes,
consulting costs. We're going to be starting this year. And also a lot of that reconstitution is also branding. So we'll be working on those things too.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. So any questions about the budget tracker? Hopefully it makes sense to everyone. Good. All right, then I will turn it back over to Diane and Isaac. Is anything else y'all want to add?
Any questions from commissioners? Any? So what will happen next, just so everyone knows, is we'll finish out expenses for the year. We'll in January, we'll get like our December financials from Isaac, be able to plug that into the tracker to see how we ended and what exactly we're carrying over. From there, the finance committee will be tasked at doing a budget modification. We already did a budget modification draft based on the vote from this year of the budget modification for a full-time staff, but we will have to modify that. We would have had to modify it anyway, but I already have the draft of the modification that will have to now be modified before it's voted on.
So you're modifying the modifications.
Modification of a modification to be voted on, but maybe we'll do that vote. We will do that vote in the first quarter, but just want to let everyone know that's kind of like the next steps. We don't have a lot of spending in January. Most of it will just be paying any outstanding bills. So that's that. Any questions? I'm happy to see how we ended up, considering there was fear, but then also in, hearing that we did not collect fully would have resulted in a tax loss collection. So with the recent release of Cook County giving extensions on tax collection, I believe was some recent news, this inadvertently may affect our tax collections in 2022. So we will, in theory, with the modification, still budget for a tax loss for 2022, again, and a plan for spending for the collection in the event we collect all. Is that correct, George?
Yes.
Does everyone get what I'm saying?
And everyone should also remember that when you're looking at the budget tracker and the financial reports, that a lot of the items that we have allocated money to are not necessarily line items that we actually intend to spend the money on, that we have to have placeholders in position, and then we can use the budget modification to transfer that money. But if we don't allocate it, we can't spend it. So it has to show up on our budget somewhere. So we'll be going through that same process again for the coming year. The carryover is simply a benefit to us. It's sort of a cross between insurance and that we'll be able to do what we want to do, and a gift of extra funds that, well, we can plow back into the business district.
And we definitely have a wish list from the program committee. So we're getting going on that as well. And in the new year, we plan to do a little brainstorming activity with the commissioners to talk about wish lists for this coming year. But we're not going to do that today.
We'll hear more about that in the program committee report, I'm sure. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Diane, for the finances. We appreciate it. Next, if there are no other questions, then the next item I have on my agenda is updates and news from Wallace Good, our guest this morning, the Executive Director of the Hyde Park Chamber of Commerce, and now my downstairs neighbor in the bank building. I wave at him every morning as I'm walking to work. Wallace, I think most of us know you. Why don't you launch into your...
Well, several quick things. First of all, thank you for putting me on the agenda. I realized that my photo array sunglasses make it look like I'm trying to be cool. I'm not. I'm in a window now. And they take a long time to clear up. When I worked at the university, I once went into a meeting and my sunglasses stayed dark. The president asked me if I was trying to be cool, and I'm like, no, they're just slow. So I actually enjoy Zoom. It has been very, very effective for us with our board members all over the area and in their businesses. It allows us to save time on travel, coming to meetings, and most of my board members have gotten past the point of asking, can you see me? Can you hear me? They seem to know how to do it now. So I think that's been a very exciting thing. I have to say, I'm excited to see Mike back. We've missed you, so welcome back, to the neighborhood. It's all cool. A couple of things, and as George says, being new on 53rd Street, it has been a very exciting time for the Hyde Park Chamber of Commerce. It is a whole new chapter for us in many, many ways. Indicative of our membership, we have 10 new members that joined in November alone. And these are brand new businesses who are wondering what the chamber does and wanting to be part of it. So my board is very excited about the new presence that we have on 53rd Street. And as George said, I see Mary, I see Charles, I see a lot of you. I see Diane every day. I see Ramon. I feel like, what's the lady who used to have the big mirror on Romper Room? Some of you will remember Romper Room. Those of you
Miss Elizabeth.
There we go. I see George and I see Mary. So it's been very exciting for us to be here, and I appreciate that. When we began working on our budget for 2022, my board members kicked out things that they would want, but I'm very excited that our board president, Troy Ratliff, said, when you're talking to organizations, ask them how we can be of service to them. What would you like? And there's some value to that. As Wendy will attest, the chamber used to write proposals to SSA of all kinds of things, and we'd spend time creating the summary and the budget and the reporting mechanisms and the monitoring. And it was like, no. And that was sort of frustrating because we thought we were writing proposals that would be beneficial and supported by the SSA. So my board has encouraged me to, as I've said to George, ask you guys a little bit about how can we be of service to you? What would you like that we and our members, our 300 plus members, be able to do for you? I constantly say that the second best thing I've done for the chamber is moving us to 53rd Street, But the best thing I've done is hiring Phil Moy as the operations manager. Phil's skill and technology brings to the chamber to a brand new level in terms of our ability to connect not only with our members, but potential members and potential funders. So I have three things to present. One, what can we do for you? Two, as many of you know, those I've talked to, our presence is the precursor to creating a Hyde Park Discover Center. We firmly believe that there's a greater need to reach out, and availability and access is one of those strategies. Three, we do have a couple of ideas, and then one, something we'd like to propose. So I guess I'll start with the Discover Center. When we've talked about taking this space and moving it ahead, we have worked very closely with Wintrust to get a sense of their commitment to taking this space and having it be more than the chamber office, but having it be a focal and accessible point for communication in the community. Already when I have that conversation, people brainstorm and say, oh, you should expand over to this corner, George. You should expand down here, Wendy. You guys have great ideas of how we can expand it. And I continue to argue that this office, more than any other place, is the crossroads in Hyde Park. Not only is it the crossroads of east-west travel, but it is the crossroads of north-south travel into the bank building. Several of our new members are businesses within the bank who've come down and discussed with us and have asked for our assistance. So I think it truly is the crossroads. And when we think about how we want to tap into that, we think of four audiences for a Discover Center. We think of an audience being the frequent flyer or the frequent visitor to Hyde Park, those who come to shop, those who come to eat, those who come for medical services that come to Hyde Park but don't live in Hyde Park. Two, I just met with two deans from the university who talk about the fact that they still cater a lot of food, but they don't come on 53rd as much. And during orientation with Shaz Razul, we were able to reach out to first-year students with t-shirts that said, Discover Hyde Park. So again, it's an idea of how do we tap into that university community so that they can support the commercial community in Hyde Park in a greater way. As we meet with the vice president from the Museum of Science and Industry, how do we tap into that tourist community that comes to Hyde Park? And I can't fault MSI for their strategy. You drive in, you keep them in the museum, and then they drive out. We really want to encourage, before the Obama Presidential Center comes in, that there's a strategy also of encouraging them to visit Hyde Park while they're here. And then last but not least, the fourth category becomes Hyde Park residents, the 29,000 residents who don't know maybe that there are 97 eateries in Hyde Park, who don't know Gilbert and Sullivan's schedule, Court Theater's schedule, Harper Movie Theater schedule. So we want to be an information source to those four diverse populations, in not only in social media, but those who now stand in my window and read the monitor realize that we've created another vehicle for communication for the simple passerbyers. And we really want the SSA to play a major role with that. Every day we drink with mugs like this and advertise downtown Hyde Park just by simply sitting here, just by drinking coffee. And we think that should be on the window as well to let people know where they are. So we'd like to talk to you about being more involved in that sense. The Discovery Center technology and equipment, we think we might have various sources, but we also need help staffing. The biggest challenge with a calendar that is up to date is it takes a lot of leg room, leg time, and energy to keep it up to date. It is a daily job of entering information. It is a daily job of making the contacts out there who feed us the information and update it. So needing support with that. Our goal would be a calendar of activities, a series, as the monitor behind me goes, of ads for small businesses. The one that I'm most excited about is an up-to-the-minute promotional, where it might say, whisper Hyde Park Chamber at chant between now and noon, and you'll get $1 off your lunch or $1 off your drink if it's 3 to 4. So up to the minute kind of promotionals. Technology is there, the equipment is there, staffing is the challenge. The last two things that I really want to hit on are, we're looking at what's going on with the 4th of July and Nichols Park's capacity and the chamber's interest. And my board has authorized me to go ahead and say, we'd be very interested in taking a lead role with the 4th of July parade, not the park and not the summer concerts. Stephanie has continued to lump all three together. And I understand that we are not interested in lumping all three together. We believe the parade has a life of its own, as does the activities in the park, as does the summer concerts. So we are beginning to explore that possibility. We will reach out to the political players to make sure that we either have support or there's no resistance. And we recognize that there needs to be funding to do a program of that sort. So we want to put that into you, asking you to think about it. And last but not least, it goes back to the question of additional security on 53rd Street. We know that the aldermen have talked about cameras, and my immediate objection was to these blue and white horrible city cameras. And I was pleased that both aldermen said, no, that's not what we're thinking. The chamber put a camera in its window for October Halloween, so that we were able to record everything that was going on in our purview. I'm happy to say it was a boring Halloween. I was here all evening, sitting around seeing, and other than a few young men and women who performed for us as they saw us sitting in the window and then asked for donations, there was not any serious problems, and we all know and how excited we were about that. So we really think that there might be an opportunity here for businesses to partner with SSA to put cameras in businesses inside all the way up and down 53rd Street from the entire length of the SSA. It's reasonably inexpensive. Our camera cost us $60 and then $3 a month to have it record and store the information. So for $100, the chamber is able to put a camera in our window. And if you think of the businesses along 53rd Street who might be interested in that and partnering with SSA with a grant, I think that would be very receptive. Last but not least, I'll say that as we sat here during a security meeting that the Vitality Committee hosted, I saw a foot patrol officer walk in front of my window multiple times during that. And since then, I've seen foot patrols on 53rd Street in another nice, positive way. And I would hope that the SSA think about that as another option for security on 53rd Street. We think of preventative measures, and I think seeing an officer is preventative. Having a camera allows us to respond in a very, very different way. So George and committee, I present three things. One, thinking about helping us staff a discovery center. Two, thinking about increased security on 53rd Street and how we can help you with that and how you can help 53rd Street with the chamber's support and leadership. And three, where we might go on the 4th of July. Lastly, what would you like us to do? That's it.
Well, that's a lot.
Of course.
It's a lot to assimilate. I mean, that was a very rich presentation, Wallace. Thank you. Could I request, I don't know how this, I don't want to make work for you, but can I request actually that you take everything you just said and put it down on paper and send it to me so I can distribute it to our commissioners, so the ones who aren't here today can actually have the feedback. I can tell them to go watch the video, but when we have a paper, I'm still a paper person on a certain level, where we can actually dissect it and look at the various points and decide who within the SSA would be the appropriate person or group to work with these issues with the chamber. It would be really helpful. So just if
I'm certainly willing to, George. My resistance always is that, which is what always would happen. I would spend the time developing all of that, writing it out, helping you see it in detail, and then saying, oh no, we don't want to do that after I've spent a bunch of time working on it. So I guess I would like some guidance, at least to say, this is what we might be interested in, Wallace. Can you develop something on that? And I'd be happy to do that versus do it and say, well, we really would never want to support that anyway after I spend time developing it.
All right, let's hear from the commissioners and see what people have to say. Wendy?
Wallace, do you have any, you mentioned a number of items. So George, I'm actually glad that you asked for the summary because I didn't think it was going to be so involved. So I didn't write any of it down. But do you have everything you spoke about requires funding? Do you have any idea how much funding you're thinking about for some of these items, just so we have some ballpark figure as to the financial investment you're thinking about for this ask?
Yes and no. And I say that, I'll use the camera as an example. The legwork of finding out how many businesses on 53rd Street, what kind of discount we would get if we ordered cameras in bulk, and what kind of matching funds is a labor-intensive project. And so I don't have that kind of dollar figure because we haven't put the time and energy into it, because as I always say, if we did that and you guys were not interested in it, it was a waste. I'll use the Discovery Center as the best example, where we have gotten ideas of underwriting the center. We have gotten ideas of who might be interested in providing a monitor that is seen from the street. And again, it's back to the question of staffing. I'm going to be in a meeting until 12.
Yeah, I got one quick question.
Okay, I'm in a meeting now.
I know.
Okay.
So
So I don't have.
so other than that, do you have any other items that might have a potential matching sponsor other than the center?
Matching sponsor. 4th of July has a huge number of sponsors who underwrite portions of it as well. So that becomes another option. And staffing wise, yes.
I'm asking because I'm thinking that as the commissioners think about the planning for the upcoming budget, since there are several items, it would probably be easier for the commissioners to seriously give more consideration to those that they would not be, that the SSA would not be funding on its own, because perhaps the SSA would have already funded some of these ideas if there was funding for them.
I don't say that again, Wendy. I'm not sure I understand what you just said.
So for some of the items that you are recommending that we invest in, I'm thinking that it will be easier for us to consider them if we knew which ones had additional possible funders or sponsors. And so you've given us two, so you've answered my question.
Well, Wendy, I guess the approach, and Roger and Georgia, I appreciate it. We are shopping all of these ideas.
Okay.
Wintrust has said they're interested. Senator Peters has said he's interested. So we're shopping all of them, and each one is being moved along based on the kind of response we get. And like Senator Peters, who said, I like your ideas. Let me see if the idea has ground, has traction. The Chicago Community Trust said, I like these ideas. I need a proposal from these two because we like those two. So I guess I'm looking for similar. Which of these would you be interested in, so that I can work a proposal and spend the time and look at a budget and look at the projection, rather than doing all of that for all of them. And as I said, it's challenging.
Okay.
And just let me explain, Wallace, that's not what I'm asking you to do right now. We don't want a proposal at this point. What we want is a concept piece so that we can actually think about the various parts of it. It doesn't need to have a budget. If it does, great, but it doesn't have to have a budget. It doesn't, we really need, that's
Okay.
a lot of ideas. So
That's
it
a
would
good-
really be helpful to have just a concept piece that we can
Like a
hash out.
menu.
Yeah.
Just a menu.
I can definitely do that. That's a concept piece. And again, none of these ideas are really new to you guys. I guess that's sort of the same question. Which of these ideas are you guys thinking about, and how can we be of assistance to you in helping you to develop those ideas? those concepts. So that's, and I hear you, George. I can definitely put it down. Obviously, I have them already because our board has looked and said, yes, move ahead with this one. Don't worry about that one. So I have them. But you're right. As long as they're not a proposal, you know, a 4-sentence, 5-sentence concept on each of them is very doable.
Yeah, we're not asking for hours of your time to do something like this. James, did you have a question? I saw the.
He was agreeing with you.
Yeah. More questions for Wallace?
Great.
I might just have a comment, Wallace. During your next meeting, you might want to put on the air sign on your door, so you won't be disturbed.
Yeah, next meeting I'm gonna lock my door. You know? But the good part is this tells you how the availability is and the flow of traffic that comes in here. Think of this as a Discover Center and how staffing would be great so that even when I'm in a meeting, we have somebody, whether it's an intern or a paid staff member, who is sitting there fielding the kind of questions that we get. We are street level, we are accessible in a very different way.
I believe Mary had a question.
Not so much a question. I wanted to welcome Wallace to the building.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I appreciated the presentation you just made because I don't really have a good sense of what the chamber does and how it does things. And so I found this very helpful in thinking about how we could work together.
Excellent.
So just thanks.
Good. Any other additional comments or questions for Wallace? Thank you very much, Wallace, for taking the time to join us this morning. You can go answer your door now. And I'll stop by and chat with you. I paid my last invoice yesterday, so I should be up to date.
And let's see, everybody is up to date in their membership, except Jared. So we're good. You know, Jared, I call you out on that. You know,
Are you sure?
2021 is about to end. You know, so thank you all for letting me speak. I'll talk to you later.
We appreciate it, Wallace. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so that was a lot to try to consume all at once. So hopefully we'll be getting a concept piece from Wallace that I'll then circulate to all the commissioners, including those who were not able to join us this morning. I have a lot of questions about how this would all work together. How does it interact with things like the Vitality Committee? I've suggested, he jokingly suggested that a welcome center, a great place for a welcome center would be just where that Obama Foundation entry is, right next to Starbucks on the corner. Maybe the Obama Foundation would like to get involved with us on that, but not crossing my fingers too hard, not holding my breath on that.
So George, I do have a question. So if once he shares the menu with us, if there are any items on it that we want to seriously consider, are we going to give any thought to ever increasing the tax base?
Yeah.
To help pay for some of this, or are we just going to wait until the reconstitution and just reset it?
Just remember that if we increase the tax base, it all goes to the TIF. Any rise in property tax goes to the TIF. So for all of it.
So it's all about the ordinance. So we should wait till reconstitution.
Okay.
So, you know,
I thought we had a little VIG, like I thought there was a.
We have 20% of our footprint is not in the TIF. The 55th Street corridor and the shopping center.
Right, I remember.
Right. Everything else is TIF. And what we really get the money from is, of course, Harper Court and Review 53 and those kinds of places. And that's all TIF. It takes every penny.
Got it. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Really, really.
Also, please keep in mind that none of these ideas presented today from the chamber are new. They've been things that have been talked about in many circles in many different ways.
Right.
I was not privy to what was being presented today, so I feel a little bit like, oh, okay. But you know, I think the 4th on 53rd is not going anywhere. I think that depending on what Nichols Park Advisory Council decides to do to reshape that or reformat that at some point with changing leadership, Discovery Center, not quite sure. We talked about doing kiosks talked about doing visitor centers, might be something worth partnering on. But, you know, a location inside a chamber office to pay for a paid staff. Not sure how I feel about that either. Knowing our capacity already internally is slim. So helping another organization build their capacity when we, in theory, need capacity building in terms of personnel, especially when we hire a new program manager. And then lastly, my final thought is cameras and businesses. Perhaps we look into a security reimbursement program like we've done in past. So putting some ownership on businesses, if this is something they want, it could then in theory provide reimbursement for that. So that's just some things I thought of, but let's wait till we see what we get in writing,
Exactly.
if that makes sense.
And then
Those
we-
are just my initial thoughts.
No, very good. And I think it really helps us gauge where, how to go about our decision-making process to see what we as a commission are interested in doing. I mean, you know,
Yes,
there's several of us who are not here today, so we really want to get feedback from the entire commission before we make
Yes.
any sort of commitments on any of these issues. I thought it was an
Right.
interesting discussion. It gives us a lot to think about. We'll see where we go from here.
yeah. And especially with us modifying the budget in the first quarter,
Yeah.
might create some opportunities for us to do some different things.
Well, I also have a hunch that perhaps at some point, at least parts of it may end up in our program committee. How's that for a segue to the next item on the
That's a
agenda?
perfect segue because I am ready to discuss
So as
that.
everyone knows, we've formulated this process of creating committees to handle more specific business. And one of our active committees is the program committees, which is basically Mary and Diane and a few other people who pop in every now and then. So Diane, take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody. So our last program committee meeting was on December 7th. We try to meet the first Tuesday of the month at 10. We may not meet the first Tuesday of the month in January because it's right after the new year. Mary and I will have to have a conversation about that for scheduling, but just wanted to provide a second half of the year program highlight to everyone. This is in your meeting packet. However, just wanted to take some time to review with you all some of the things that we have done in the last 6 months since we had a staff turnover. And so I was interestingly enough tasked to take on some program spending and some strategy, as well as thinking about hiring a new person. So, which we'll talk about next. I'll talk about where we're at with that. But first, let's go through some of the things we've done this last half of the year that we should all be very proud of. So we did do some work on branding efforts. I like to put that first and foremost, because we know with reconstitution, getting people to know what is special service area. So we've been doing a lot more talking about that, and it will continue into 2022. So we've got the website that's open right now that will be closing soon. The postcard mailer we did a SSA business directory we have a consultant that's been working on it. It's in process. I think our first draft is coming this week, and then it's going to be an ongoing updating. New banners, such as the one in the picture, has been placed on Beloy's and the Hyde Park Bank drive-through. Also, we have a new logo for SSA 61. It's like this one up here in the corner. I don't know why. Oh, like this it says Special Service Area 61 next to downtown Hyde Park, because we have to work on differentiating what that is. And that downtown Hyde Park is the destination of the special service area, which provides special services to an area. So we have to continue to kind of put that message out there. Some other things, we did a SSA 61 shop local specific campaign this year, highlighting those participating businesses, as well as a digital shopping guide that is on our website that we have shared far and wide that highlights some of those participating businesses as well as the campaign. I promised a recap on the farmers market, so wanted to make sure we had those numbers in. We ended up having 3 sponsors, University of Chicago Medicine, Hyde Park Bank, and CEA Media. Total number of vendors, we had 17 and we had 13 pop-ups. So that's about 30 vendors participating this summer. We had 8 community partner tables, 5 activations, about a weekly attendance of around 200, 15 total weeks of market. Our total revenue, and these are things that obviously, because SECC is the nonprofit entity, this revenue is all in a Hyde Park Bank farmers market account that we will use for next year. So we 4,600 from vendors, another 700 from the pop-ups. And then we estimated our total economic impact is about $60,000 for the 15 weeks. So I think we should all pat ourselves on the back for relocating the market, rebranding it, and investing a little bit of money from the SSA to help make it happen. So I just wanted to share that. Other things we did, and this is, well, I'll speed up a little bit on some of these. United Church of Hyde Park, we finished those front lawn improvements. Reverend Hill's on the line today. We did some landscaping through the Neighbor Enhancement Grant, as well as the fencing. And we did a garbage can installation on that corner as well. 53rd and Woodlawn corner landscapes. Hyde Park, we did a Hyde Park community safety conversation with SECC, SSA, U of C, DuSable Museum, and Emerald South Collaborative to discuss with community leaders around the recent violence, make recommendations, as well as attending the press conference that happened. So we have been keeping our ears to the ground on safety and participating in those meetings. Winter florals, holiday garden, garland, which was brand new this year. That's all out there right now, looking nice and contributing to the beautification on the corridor. And then also, as I mentioned, our Small Business Saturday Shop Local, unique campaign and digital shopping guide. Hyde Park Holidays happened for the first time in person. It was modified. We did just the ice sculpting and live reindeer this year. Here's some lovely photos of our garland and floral baskets, ice sculpture, and our Shop Local campaign. Then, as you all know, we commissioned 2 new murals in Hyde Park. One was at 53rd Street, the other at 55th. 53rd Street was Harold's Parakeets. 55th is Essence of Growth, both adding to beautification. We did a beautiful unveiling. Thank you to George, Charles Newsom, and Shaka Mitchell for attending. I appreciate your support in representing our commissioners. It was a beautiful day, beautiful turnout. All of this, as well as videos of the muralists, exist on our webpage right now. It's a modified version. It's going to get built out when we transfer everything over to a new website. And I think that wraps my report. So in such a short time, we've managed, through planning and preparation, we have managed to spend down funds and put ourselves in a position for our carryover for the new year. And we have a wish list going for next year. And George is going to share something.
Just a couple of additional pictures. We've gotten so much positive feedback from these murals. I'm really proud of them. And I think it's fun that we even had some of the impact on the content. We suggested the addition of 53rd up here to tie it into 53rd Street, and the building where Mayor Washington lived, just again, to give it that Hyde Park flavor. And if you look over here on the right, you'll see our logo and the credit line for the SSA is also, it's over here in the corner of the mural. And the one over on 55th Street is just is very bright and cheerful. Again, it has our logo on it and our information. That's sponsored by SSA 61. And it really took what was just a terribly drab corner and enlivened it tremendously. I mean, just walking down the street in that direction now, it's just a completely different feeling from how it was before. And it was really nice being able to interact with the artists. They were so thrilled to be here and working with it. Nico Berry's parents were at the meeting, at the unveiling, and spoke, and it was just charming to hear from them. And then Izzy Ortiz brought their entire team and family to the unveiling. So it was a lot of fun getting to meet all of them. So I think it was a very positive experience all the way around. So a lot of fun. Let's do it again. Questions for Diane about our program updates, or for Mary?
And I greatly appreciate Mary's help. We brainstorm, we talk about what the direction is, and then I'm meeting coincidingly with George and Greg to talk about budget. So that way everything's kind of getting planned out. And this is how, moving forward, when we get a new program manager, how I am envisioning that we will continue to operate. Speaking of, just to give the final update on that, is that we did re-release the position. I emailed the commissioners the new link, where it's located. And I have gotten a lot of feedback from LinkedIn, which has been fantastic. Gotten a lot of more submissions than we did last time, which tells me maybe the market is opening up a little bit. Job market, it's the end of the year. People might be looking for new roles. I did kind of change the position title. I listed it just as program manager. And then in the details, I detailed it out, obviously the same, but perhaps such a lengthy title, or not knowing what SSA Business District Program Manager, so I shortened that. I also listed the salary on the post. So that way people that were really serious would be more interested. They know up front what they're applying for. So we tried some different strategies. We will be doing a first round pre-screen interview with 4 candidates over the next 2 weeks. If anyone is a front runner or would be considered for an in-person, we would schedule that in the new year. So I will keep everyone posted on that.
We'll hope
So
for the best.
fingers crossed, send the good skills, the hardworking people, the diehard dedicated people like all of us our way, so we can put them to work and they can hit the ground running. That's the goal. Hi, Angie. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Angie, thanks for
Hi,
joining.
sorry I'm late. Was dealing with end of year little crises, but sorry to be late.
It's okay, you're here. Thank you.
Here. Thank you.
And so any other questions about our programs? All right, then that takes us to the complicated part of this morning's meeting. I don't suppose it's complicated. We have to choose new officers for the coming year. So our bylaws state that an officer is elected for a 2-year term. I'm completing, and an officer can be elected for up to 2 of these 2-year terms. So this month completes my 4th year as being chair. So come January, we need to have a new chair running these meetings. So I went back to review our bylaws to see how we're supposed to do this. And guess what I found? Absolutely nothing in our bylaws about how we should do this. It doesn't even say that we elect officers. It says that we designate officers. So specifically says every 2 years, we designate officers who can serve up to 2 terms of 2 years, total of 4 years. So what we have done in the past is just tossed out the names to the commissioners and see what sort of feedback there was. And then hopefully someone will move that we accept it, that we accept all the names, and we just accept it as it is. If there's no objections, we don't even have to have a vote. We can just have an agreement. So trying to be logical in this whole process and figure out how we can designate these officers. I've talked to a bunch of people over the past few weeks, and our current treasurer is Nancy Stanek, and our current secretary is Eric Thompson, and they're both serving their first 2-year term, completing their first 2-year term, and they both have stated their willingness to serve another term. So as long as there's no objections, they will continue in their current positions. We know these positions are mainly titles, that there's not a lot of work goes with either being treasurer or secretary. Treasurer a little bit more because of the finance meetings, but we have Ramon doing the minutes for us and keeping track of all the secretarial work. For the chair, the logical next person is, of course, Greg, our current vice chair. Now, if you're like me, you've heard some comments about Mac Properties not being very supportive of the SSA. So I had a long conversation with Greg about this last week, and I'm perfectly comfortable with Greg taking over. But I suggest that Greg might like to talk to the commissioners for a few minutes this morning about his vision of the SSA, or his goals, or how he thinks of the SSA and what he would like to see. So Greg, would you like to take a few minutes and talk to everyone? I see you're on your telephone as well as your video. So nope, one of them is still muted, so. Still can't hear. Still can't hear. Greg is just getting back from a trip. Nope. So I told you, this is the difficult part of it.
Well, the crazy part is that he has to call in from his phone to listen to the call, but watch from his phone. Technology.
You got
There
it.
he is.
Ah, there we go. You got it. We heard you. Oh. Nope. We heard you for a moment, then it went away.
Okay, I think this should do it.
Okay, we can hear you. Let me mute. That's feedback from me. So let me mute.
Can you hear me? All right, we're gonna risk it here, and I just hung up on my phone. Can you hear me now? You can. Okay. Yes. Okay, Mac's commitment to the SSA. I think that is the question. So Mac is committed to the SSA. I am committed to the SSA. You know, Mac roughly pays about $100,000 into the SSA, and I think the one of my colleagues was a bit concerned that, you know, that is our money that we would normally use to donate to other causes, and now we're sort of agreeing to let a governing body, this body, make that decision for us. I take a different approach. My approach is that $100,000 that we were going to spend now gets matched by two other, you know, tripled. And the goal is still the same, which is figure out how to make Hyde Park better and get more people to spend time in Hyde Park and live in Hyde Park. So, you know, for me, the SSA is a multiplier and, you know, good for all of us. And I actually think that is the overwhelming prevailing thought at Mac Properties. I think we're pretty pro SSA. So, you know, where that comment came from, or if there was a colleague of mine that like, you know, said he wasn't supportive, I would just let you know that, you know, that person doesn't speak for Mac. I know that about a year ago, well, peak of the pandemic, we heard a lot from our retail and commercial residents that they were very concerned about making rents. Not all of them did, but I think we're past that. And you know, taxes are going to increase dramatically for most of us. So, you know, I would imagine that those concerns come back again. You know, why do I want to pay an optional tax? But, you know, for me, it's a rising tide lifts all ships, and the better Hyde Park does, better for all of us. So it's a no-brainer for me why SSA is good for Hyde Park, good for us. Did I address your question? Or is there?
Yeah. Could you also maybe add just a word or two about what you think your role will be as chair? Are you going to be autocratic like I am?
Let's see. That's a great question. I think you guys have seen and heard me for a few years, so I'm guessing that you know who I am, and my style is my style. And when I feel strongly on something, you know, I share it. And if I don't have an opinion, I don't share it. And I'm comfortable letting others make decisions when, you know, but I do feel like the chair needs to keep this. It could be a very it's a lot of cats to herd, and it's a pretty big responsibility, right? People are they're paying us money in their taxes. So I take it pretty seriously, that fiduciary responsibility. And I feel like we've got to have an organized body making thoughtful decisions and staying true to our mission, which, which covers a lot of ground. And I don't, personally, I think the money is best spent when it's on physically improving the neighborhood, clean slate, or improving facades. That's my favorite way to spend the money for us. But our charter, our mandate covers more than just physical improvements. There are programs, and so I'm not sure I've answered your question, but I think I don't think I'm autocratic, but hopefully people will say I'm organized and I am keeping a meeting moving forward.
No, that's good. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have questions? Charles?
Yeah, gee, you must have been reading my mind. I thought about making it a little political, Greg. What are your thoughts in terms of going forwards and maybe making some changes or following the same footprint that we've carried all these years? You want to make some comments on your thoughts on going forward?
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job. I think we are doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So my thought going forward would be more the same. I mean, the big gorilla is we've got to reconstitute and get another 10 years. So that's priority one, in order to do the things that we continue to do.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I don't have an agenda for like 3 things that we need to accomplish. If that's the question, Charles, there is no there's not a specific agenda of a activity that I want to accomplish, other than let's keep this thing rolling in an organized manner.
Okay.
My question for you, Greg, is like, what do you bring to the position? For example, like, what do you do at MAC?
Yeah. Let's see. So my title is Chief Marketing Officer. That overlaps a lot with the SSA, which is basically how do I present Hyde Park as a favorable place for people to live. So it's a pretty, which makes actually the SSA a lot more fun for me, because it's sort of like my passion and my job. Get to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But I get involved in a lot of operational issues as well. In terms of like regular day-to-day property management stuff. But my primary responsibility is getting people to move into Hyde Park, and and presenting us. It's most of our advertising is digital, if not all of it. So it covers like the website, social media, email campaigns, that type of thing.
Good. More questions? Angie?
So the reconstitution will probably be a major time commitment. Do you feel like you have the time and time to lead that effort? I think it's something outside of the regular work that we're doing that will be an important piece of it. Do you have the time to commit to that in light of all of your day job and other things?
No, I don't have any free time at work, but it's a priority, and so you just find a way to make it happen. I'm give a busy person something to do, and it probably is more likely to get done than someone who doesn't have a lot to do. We are hiring consultants and professionals to help lead the organization through the the reconstitution. So that I think is a lot of the heavy lifting. But I make all of our SSA meetings now, and I'm able to commit to the finance meetings that also meet in between our meetings. So there's certainly time spent in the SSA, and I find a way to make time.
Great. Any additional questions or comments? If there are none, then I would entertain a motion that we accept the officers as presented.
I so move.
Mary has moved. Is there a second? Charles seconds. Is there any objection? I see no objection, so we'll assume that the slate then has been accepted as presented. Thank you all. You will notice conspicuous by its absence is that we have not mentioned a vice chair. That's because I haven't been able to pin anyone down yet to hold that position, but between now and our January meeting, Diane, Greg, and I will be twisting arms, and we will figure out which one of you are going to get to have the honored position of vice chair going forward. So we will have one additional vote to take at the January meeting. So, and if you are interested in being vice chair, please let me know, and we'll see that it happens. So if any of you are interested in vice chairing, please just drop me a line, drop me an email, give me a phone call, and let's talk about it. Thank you. So there being no objections, we welcome Greg as our next chair for Special Service Area 61 for 2022. I don't have to do it now.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Yay.
The last item I have on my agenda is that we always briefly open the floor to the commissioners for general questions and announcements. Is there anything anyone would like to bring up?
Well, if we don't have any, I'd like to make a comment as well. Like welcome Greg on board. At the same time, Greg, you put on some bigger slippers, but you got some big shoes to fill.
I agree. We're 2 for 2 on chairs right now.
Okay.
Mike and George have set a pretty high bar.
Well, it's a terrific group of people who will keep you on the path. I guarantee you that they will make sure that you stay on the straight and narrow, as the old minister used to say. More additional questions or comments? I guess I would like to express my appreciation to all of you for all the hard work and dedication to the commission, and for allowing me to be an officer for the last 4 years, actually for the last 8 years. Special thanks go to the Southeast Chicago Commission, Diane and Rahman, as well as their board for all that they've been doing for their ongoing work to support the SSA. I mean, that's why we're still here today. So I've enjoyed being your chair. I'm relieved that I don't have to be the chair now, that someone else can take care of it, use their signature instead of mine. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 25th, 2022 at 11 a.m. And if there's no further business and no objection, we'll adjourn this meeting. And I wish everyone a very happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
I do want to make one comment. Thank you, George, for everything you've done. Also, George isn't leaving us.
No. I'll
He's
still
staying
be
on the commission, but he will continue to support the finance committee and the project tracker and the things that we've been doing, and help transition with Greg as well.
and work on the reconstitution. So
Yes.
that's, I think, all of us to do that.
Yes, it is. But thank you, George, for all of your service. We appreciate it. I don't think I could have done everything I did the last 4 years without your support. And of course, Mike McGarry as well, like the transition between Wendy and I. So thank you all so much.
And certainly kudos to Diane and the Southeast Chicago Commission on their part they play in all of this. I think it's a group effort, and that's what makes it good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
So Greg, look for the meeting invites. They're going to be coming your way from me.
Okay, everybody have a wonderful holidays, and we'll see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. You too.
Everyone.
Thank you, George.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Have a good day.